A very good morning to all the students of class 8. Dear students, how are you all? Hope for your good health. The sentence of the day is, every new day brings a new challenge to change. I repeat the sentence of the day, that is, every new day brings a new challenge to change. That means every day we have a challenge to change ourselves, and we should change ourselves according to the challenge we get. I am Laseni, your SST teacher. We were doing civics chapter 1, the Indian Constitution, which we have completed. Quickly we'll recap, then do the key terms and the back exercise. So dear students, why do we need a constitution? For smooth running of a government, we need a constitution to know our fundamental rights. In a constitution, we have federal government, separation of government, then parliamentary form of government, then we have fundamental rights. The rights of the minorities are also being safeguarded in a democratic country. It provides us certain rights to every citizen and protects their freedom. It lays out rules and guidelines against the misuse of the political leaders. जो political leaders अपने rights को misuse करता है, उसको भी वो protect करती है democratic form constitution हमारा. As we have taken the two stories in your book, one was about the Nepal. First, the Nepal was a monarchy country and it was being ruled by the king. To make it a democratic country, the Nepal people from 1990 to 2006 had to fight a lot. But at the end, the country became democratic. But the rules cannot be the same. The constitution had to change according to the democracy. So they had to make a new constitution. As we took the example of the game of the football, there are some constitution, that means some laws being made. We cannot mix the rules of football with the rules of the badminton or basketball. Now then, there is another example, the misuse of the laws. Like in the politics we do, we'll take an example of a schoolboy who was a monitor of the class. The teacher had to go out of the class for some important work and she said monitor to mind the class. What the child did, he misused his power and took a name of a boy who was sitting quietly but told teacher that he was talking a lot. But teacher also, without listening to the problem of the child, she started scolding. So this was the misuse of the power, and the teacher could have asked the student what the matter was. Not only that the person who is minding, that means he's a monitor, he is correct. She could have asked another students also in the class. Now safeguard the minorities. Like we have an example in your book only. The girls were less in the class than those of boys. So every time they had to listen to play the cricket. When the girls complained, there was again the same thing. The sports teacher told them no, that they have to play cricket as boys are more in number and we have to listen about that. So this is we have to safeguard the minorities also. We can play a game that can be played if the gender difference is there, if the girls are less, then too we can play the game which both of us can play. Next comes safeguard us from ourselves. In that the girl was studying, there is an example in your book only. The girl was studying and her favorite program was about to come. So she had to decide between the two, that she had to take our favorite program or she had to study. The two chapters were left. She makes a decision, tells her mother that mom, I want to study. What if you also don't see the television? The mother agrees and she studies. So that was the fight within herself. Similarly, in our constitution, to protect, we have to fight amongst ourselves. our greed, our need, misuse of our power. We should be loyal to our country. Then another comes the fundamental key features, that is federalism. Then comes the federalism. There are levels of government, that is state government, central government, and then the Panchayati Raj. So these three tiers we had done in detail. Then the parliamentary form of government. Under this, the division three tiers government is already we have done in chapter 6 also, and in 7th class we have done the story of Kanta, who is a domestic helper. She also in the form मतलब parliamentary form of government में everybody is equal in the eyes of law, no matter what caste, creed, sex or religion or place of birth he is. But economically and socially government cannot make equal to everyone. Then comes the separation of power, that is three organizations set up, then that is legislative, executive and judiciary. So legislative, executive and judiciary, these three are the three tiers of the government which lay stress on the parliamentary form, the separation of the power. Three powers are being separated on the basis of legislature, executive and judiciary, which I have explained you very nicely in the previous videos and class sessions. Now fundamental rights. We have 5 fundamental rights. Right to equality, that is everyone is equal in the eyes of laws. That means right to vote. Under the universal adult franchise, everyone has right to cast his or her vote. Right to freedom. We have right to freedom of speech. Anyone can speak whatever he wants to say, but in his एक दायरे में, अपने उस ऐसे नहीं कि you can speak anything you want to speak, but this includes the right to freedom of speech and expression, right to form association, the right to move freely and reside in any part of the country, and the right to practice any profession, occupation and business. That means freedom of having any particular business, any setup, any education system, कुछ भी, any language, any religion हम believe करते हैं. Right against exploitation. Like we have taken 2 examples, one of the Dalit boy and one Mr. and Mrs. Ansari. So that was, they were being exploited because of being minority. So the fundamental right, they have right to fight against the exploitation being done by them. Then comes to right to freedom of religion. One has a right to have any religion that he wants to have, no matter whatever it is. Cultural and education right, that includes one person can have any culture, he can introduce his culture, he can promote his culture, culturally he can make his own schools, no law can stop him. The Constitution states that all minority religion or can set up their own education institution in order to prevent and develop their own culture. अपने culture को बढ़ावा देने के लिए आप अपना school, college कुछ भी अपना खोल सकते हैं. Right to constitutional remedies. This allows citizens to move to the country, to the court if they believe that any of their fundamental rights has been violated by the state. मतलब constitutional remedies मतलब कोई भी अगर उनका right violate होता है तो they are free to move to the court to get the justice against that. Now the secularism. This is the last thing. Secularism. The secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any religion and state religion. मतलब कि कोई भी religion state religion बनने पे नहीं बोला जाता according to this right. Now next is the Constitution plays a crucial role in laying out the ideas that we follow like as a citizen of the country on Aadhaar to include the respectively changes of the constitutional rules will affect the game. So these are the fundamental rights that the fundamental and secularism. Now coming up to the key terms of the chapter. So the first key term is arbitrary. Arbitrary, which means when nothing is fixed and is instead left to one's judgment or choice. This can be used to refer to the rule that it is not fixed, ये fixed नहीं होता है, or decision that has to be based on it. Fixed नहीं होता है और decision based on it होता है. That is arbitrary. It is not fixed and the decision that has to be taken based on it. Second is idea. Ideal. A goal. Ideal is a goal or a principle in its most excellent or perfect form. A goal or a principle in its most excellent or perfect form. एक गोल जो कि प्रिंसिपल या गोल जो कि उसके परफेक्ट फॉर्म में होता है, that is ideal. Now third is polity. A society that has an organized political structure India is a democratic polity. A society that has an organized political structure, जिसका एक organized political structure है, like India is an democratic polity. इसका मतलब कि इंडिया एक democratic country है. Now coming up to sovereignty. Now what do you mean by term sovereignty? Sovereignty, in the content of the chapter, it refers to the independent people. Sovereign is it refers to an independent people. इस chapter के according it is the independent people. Now Indian national movement. The Indian national movement emerged in 19th century India and saw thousands of men and women coming together to fight rules. This culminated in India's independence in 1947. You have learned about this in detail in your history textbook this year. You will learn this about your history textbook in detail. Then comes the training. The cruel and unjust use of power or authority. अपनी पावर का अनयूज करना, that is training. Now human trafficking is also a key term in your book. The practice of the illegal buying and selling of different commodities according to national borders. National borders से जो हम trafficking करते हैं. In this context of fundamental rights discussed in this chapter, it refers to the illegal trade in human being, particularly women and children. ज़्यादातर बच्चों को trafficking किया जाता है from one country to another. Women and children. Now coming up to the back exercise, the question and answers. The first question, why does a country need a democracy? The answer is, a country needs a constitution because, why does a democratic country needs a constitution? A democratic country needs a constitution because of the following reasons. First, it lays out certain ideas that form the basic of the kind of country that we as citizens aspire to live in, जिसमें कि हम aspire होते हैं रहने के लिए. It serves as an assert of rule and principles as the basis of the way in which people want their country to be governed. Third, it lays out all important guidelines that governs decision making within different societies of the country. Fourth, it lays down rules that guide against this misuse of authority by our political leaders. Fifth, it also provides certain fundamental rights to the citizen and protects their freedom. So these are the 5 points why we need. Actually there are 10 points, but the answer will become so long, so we are taking these 5 points. Now the next question, look at the wordings of the two documents given below. Their first is of Nepal and another is of the Nepal's 1990 के constitution का and then 2000 के है. तो what is the difference in who exercises excessive power in the above two constitution of Nepal? Keep this in mind. Why do you think Nepal needs a new constitution today? Under Article 35 of the 1990 Constitution of Nepal states that the whole power of the ruling of the country is vested in the kings of the country and the ministers appointed by him. On the other hand, the Article 75 of the 2015 Constitution of Nepal state that the rules and the management of the country has been based on the laws mentioned in the Constitution of the country under the supervision of Council of Ministers. This is the difference between the two. The question number 3 says, what would happen if there were no restrictions on the power of the election representatives? If there was no restrictions on the powers of the elected representatives, the leaders misused their powers and authorities. This would have resulted in gross injustice against the people of the country. Hence, the Indian Constitution has provided measures to safeguard the country against such misuse of power by our political leaders. Now, question number 4, that is, in each of the following, there are situations given and we have to think about, write one reason, हमको हर एक का एक one reason लिखना है, why you think it is important to respect the views of the minority. हमें क्यों respect करना है? First, in the school with 30 teachers, 20 of them are male. तो इसका answer is, here the 10 female teachers teaching in the school come under the minority category. It is important to respect the view of the minorities so that they do not feel left out or underpowered by the majority. Moreover, no decision made keeping the majority's view in mind should cause any kind of discomfort to the female teachers. कोई भी ऐसे decision ली हुई discomfort नहीं होना चाहिए जो minority teachers के लिए है. Now next situation. Second situation, in the city 5% of the population are Buddhist. Answer is, hence the minority section in the Buddhist population in the city, their view should be respected. Any decision taken for the interest of the majority should not hurt the religion effects or the beliefs of the Buddhist population. Third situation, in a factory mess for all employees, 80% are vegetarians. Hence 20% non-vegetarians fall under the minority category. It is important that the food prepared in the factory mess must be prepared to fulfill the diet requirements of both vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Then the D is, in the class of 50 students, 40 belongs to more well-off families. So hence the 10% of the students lie in the category of minority. That means the 10 students who do not belong to the well-to-do families come under the minority category. It is important to respect their views and make sure that there is no kind of discrimination or distinction based on the financial backgrounds of the students in the class. Various experiences required by the school should be adjusted in the way that the majority and minority students should not minority should not be humiliated by the majority section. Now answer number 5, that we have to explain in that federalism, separation of power, fundamental rights, formative form of government. So that I will send you in the PDF form because that is a long answer. And dear students, thank you and have a nice day.